Ever wonder why Montessori kids seem to be so independent and curious? Well, you're not alone. Today we're diving deep into the major differences between Montessori and traditional schooling methods. This is super important stuff if you're trying to decide where to send your kiddo for school. I've been exploring Montessori methods, Montessori-inspired toys, and positive parenting for 4 years now, so I'm excited to share with you what I've learned. Alright, for those new to the game, let's break down Montessori. It's an educational philosophy that focuses on child-led, hands-on learning. Children in Montessori settings get to pick activities that interest them and explore at their own pace. Imagine this, a classroom where there are no desks lined up in rows. Instead, you've got learning stations and a wide range of materials from traditional Montessori, such as object permanence boxes, and recently I even noticed some great Montessori-inspired toys from Lovevery Play Kits making its way into classrooms. The whole idea is to promote independence, foster respect, and instill genuine love for learning. Switching gears, let's talk about traditional schooling. Here you'll see a different story. Teachers lead, students follow. There's a set curriculum, and you better believe there will be grades and tests. I probably don't need to do too much explanation on this, as you're probably already familiar with this concept. Basically, rows of desks facing the teacher's desk and a chalkboard. It's a more structured environment, and students usually move as a group from one activity or subject to the next. So what makes these systems stand apart? First up, teaching method. In Montessori, this child-led approach not only fuels a kid's natural curiosity, but also promotes a deeper understanding because they're genuinely interested. It's like unlocking a world where learning is an adventure and not a chore. On the flip side, traditional schooling offers a structured, teacher-led environment that can be reassuring for some kids. However, this one-size-fits-all approach might not cater to individual interests, which could affect engagement and retention. Next, the classroom environment. Montessori has mixed age groups. These mixed age groups encourage a sense of community and mentorship, allowing children to learn not just from adults, but from peers as well. It's a setup that mirrors the real world, where you're not always grouped by age. In traditional classrooms, being with peers of the same age can make it easier to measure academic progress, but it also tends to foster a more competitive atmosphere. Kids are often pitted against each other for grades and achievements, which might not be the best for nurturing a collaborative spirit. Assessments. Let's talk about those. Montessori offers observational assessments, no A's, B's, or F's. Instead, teachers keep detailed records of a child's progress, noting their strengths and areas for improvement. In contrast, traditional schooling is all about those report cards and standardized tests. Oh, I'm sure you remember the joy of SATs, at least if you're in the States. What about learning pace? Montessori is very individualized. If Timmy wants to spend all week working on a math problem, he can. But in traditional settings, everyone moves at the same pace. You can think of it as one of those one-size-fits-all t-shirts that really fits no one perfectly. Lastly, role of play. While so far everything can be considered pretty different, this is like night and day. In Montessori, play isn't separate from learning. It actually is the learning. Imagine kids deeply engaged with puzzles, blocks, or role-playing. They're not just having fun, they're absorbing critical life skills and academic concepts. Contrast that with traditional schooling, where play usually happens at recess, separate from the classroom. Play is often seen as a break from learning rather than an integral part of it. This matters because it influences how kids view learning. In Montessori, the world is their classroom. In traditional settings, learning is something that happens at specific times and places. Let's get into the pros and cons because both systems have them. Montessori is fantastic for fostering independence. Kids learn to do things for themselves from an early age. They also learn practical life skills like pouring their own juice and tying their shoes, and they usually get a lot more hands-on learning experiences. The downside, it can be pricey and not every child thrives in an open environment. Traditional schooling, on the other hand, is more budget-friendly. It's also more widespread, so you'll have more schools to choose from. However, some critics argue it can be limiting the creativity and stress-inducing with all those tests and grades. Alright, so here's the million-dollar question. Which is better? The answer is, it's complicated. Personally, I lean towards Montessori because of its holistic approach to development. But it really depends on your family, your values, and your child's unique needs. So I want to hear from you. Are you team Montessori or team traditional? Drop a comment below. I'm curious to hear what you think. If you haven't subscribed yet, consider subscribing for more Montessori-inspired content. Thank you so much for hanging out with me today. Until next time, keep parenting the awesome way.